Om Vakrutunda Mahakaya Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvina Vadhetamaस्तमा Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha
Om Shri Bhagavad Namaha.
Atha Dvitiyodhyayaha
Adhyatiyodhyayaha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Shri Bhagavad Gita.
Shloka number 29. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam
Ascharyavadhashyatikashitenam.
Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha
Ascharyavadati tathaiva chanyaha.
Ascharyavat-chainamanya-shrinoti
Ascharyavachainamanya-shrunoti.
Shrutva-pyenam vedana chaiva kaschit
Shrutvabhenam vedanakchaiva kaschida.
Ascharyavat shrunoti shishyaha Ascharyavat vadati vatta guruhu Ascharyavat pashyati Shrutva api na veda iti. So everything is Ascharyam. Atma is Ascharyam, so wonder. Therefore, that is Satya, that is real. Everything is Mithya. Therefore, this life is a very subtle joke. If you analyze a thought, there is no thought at all. Where does any given thought begin and where does conscious end? Whatever you confront in the world is nothing but your thought. That there is a world for you is because you have a thought. When you ask how far is any given thought true, where does the consciousness end? Where does a thought begin? You will find that there is only consciousness. There is no thought. There is no beginning of the thought. There is no form of the thought. All that is there is one consciousness. This is the beauty and the joke of the Atma. The whole thing is a continuous joke. There is as though an original joke, and then afterwards a variety of secondary jokes, one after the other. Marriage is a joke, and children are secondary jokes. Childbirth itself is a joke, and so are the birth pangs. Thus, there is one continuous joke within which there are lamentations. If the original joke is not understood, you will not understand other jokes. The original joke should be understood as a joke. Then all other jokes become jokes quite naturally. The last joke perhaps is that there will always be someone who, after listening to Vedanta, will say, "Please tell me what the teaching is. Upanishad mein bruhi." I think Upanishad. This is like the man who listened to a musician singing Bhupali, the name of a particular melody, raga, in Hindustani music for an hour. He was nodding his head as though he understood the music very well. At the end of the rendering, however, the man said to the musician, Pandit Ji, please sing Bhupali next. Similarly, there is always someone in the audience who, at the end of a Vedanta talk, will say, I didn't understand anything, I saw nothing in it at all. If someone else expressed his or her appreciation of what was said, the first person may accuse that person of having been swept away, of not having retained his or independent thinking, of having lost himself or herself in a sea of meaningless words. Faced with such criticism, the person who understood may begin to doubt whether there had ever been a time when he or she had thought independently. That some people can listen to the teaching about the Atma and not understand is another wonder. Because it is a wonder, it is not easy to understand. Only a few people can understand such wonders. Even a simple joke is not understood by everybody, much less the Atma joke, because it is too big a joke. No one can say it is easy to understand. Therefore, it is no wonder that having listened to talks about Atma, some people do not understand. Or that people do not understand can also be taken as a wonder, since what is to be understood is themselves. All that is being talked about is oneself, a self evident fact. We experience this Atma all the time. Only because of the Atma do we experience the world. Everything in the world is unlike Atma. This Atma as Ananda is very evident in moments of joy when we discover ourselves to be full Purna. But still, even when it is pointed out that we are that whole, we don't understand, which is another wonder. Shutva api yenam vedana cha eva kaschit. The difficulty in understanding. Why is it that people cannot understand? It is not calculus or something that requires certain intellectual preparation and acumen. All that is required here is to see what is being said, yet some do not see it. This is because seeing oneself is not like seeing an object. It is not knowledge of an object, like a pot, which depends on another object, clay, only of which you may understand, only one of which you may understand. To see oneself is knowledge of oneself as something that is not subject to negation. It is knowledge of the whole. Atma is therefore to be understood as the whole, that which is free from all attributes, which is yourself. All attributes are incidental, agantukam, temporary, not intrinsic, not swabhavikam. What is to be known here is very clear and in itself doesn't require any intellectual discipline, unlike calculus. Even a wise man, in order to learn calculus, has to start from 1 plus 1 equals 2, and it will take the person ages to understand calculus. Atma, on the other hand, is very simple. All that is required are your experiences in life. That you have been constantly seeking is a fact. That there is no answer to this seeking is another fact. You have tried various pursuits and none of them has yielded what you wanted. This is also a fact. In between, you had some moments of joy, which is another fact. These two latter facts are the ones that you have to analyze in order to understand yourself, the Atma. Because you have assimilated certain experiences, you cannot say that you have no raw material to analyze. The three states of experience, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Avastha, waking, dream, and sleep, deep sleep themselves provide you with enough data. That one state cancels another state is enough data. Therefore, it is not that you lack materials or data. All that requires is someone to lift your vision, for which a means of knowledge, pramanam, a teacher, acharya, and a vision, upadesha, are all there. Then you should be able to see the fact. Then understanding should take place. To see an object is no problem. Your eyes are there, the object is there, and you see it. Similarly, if the teaching is available and the Atma is available, then knowledge should take place. There should be no hindrance to your gaining the knowledge. But still, seeing may not take place. And this not seeing is described in this verse as a wonder. Krishna pointed out here that seeing is a wonder, and not seeing is a great wonder. That a person can come out of the whole teaching untouched, unscathed, as it were, is definitely a wonder. The one who knows Atma is a wonder. We can also take the verse differently, using the word Ascharyavat to mean that the person who knows Atma is like a wonder. Another way of interpretation. Not knowing is a wonder, knowing is also equally a wonder. The affix Vata means like. It is an Abhyaya. When you add the Pratyaya, get an Abhyaya. And therefore, Ascharyavat means like a wonder. Among millions of people, only one may be a seeker. And even among the seekers, only one person may see the truth of what is said. Therefore, understanding Atma is not easy. Therefore, one who knows Atma without any doubt whatsoever, one who sees it directly, Yaha Atmanam Pashyati, is a wonder because he or she has to reverse an entire process. Our natural trait is to follow the beaten track in our ways of thinking, in our pursuits, and so on. We constantly strive to make something of ourselves because initially we condemn ourselves as useless. We try to set the Atma up nicely by the pursuit of a samsari. First, we think of the Atma as a samsari. Then we look for some means of support so that the samsari can be better, so that he or she can develop some spine, some character, and so on. We think of the Atma as so drooped that it requires some kind of support system in order to be acceptable. This is the nature of people. They are like flowing water that finds its own level. In this way, people tend to follow the beaten track. Some may follow it better than others. If one person makes money in a particular pursuit, another may try to make the same money in another pursuit. But this is all really one beaten track with only minor variations. Nevertheless, such people are called creative, whereas the really creative person is one who questions the very seeker. He asks himself, am I a samsari? If one assumes that one is a samsari, any pursuit is a beaten track. The one who questions whether he or she is a samsari reverses the whole process. It is something like water climbing up the mountain. Water flowing down is nothing, it's natural. However, the water begins to flow upwards. It's truly a wonder, an ascharya to behold. All of humanity would gather to see water climbing up a mountain. Even to start the process of self enquiry is a very big thing. A certain grace is definitely required, otherwise, starting is not possible. Just as it requires a lot of horsepower to send water up a hill, so too for a person who has been following the beaten track to question whether he or she is samsari requires a lot of horsepower, God power, or grace, Ishvara Anugraha. And if the person discovers the truth, he or she is definitely a wonder. The one who talks about Atma is also a wonder. The teacher is a wonder. The one who knows then it's an Ascharya. The one who talks about it is another Ascharya because there is nothing really to talk about. When someone comes and says, I am overcome by sorrow, the person who knows the truth cannot really talk about it because he or she doesn't see any sorrow or problem at all. It's also a wonder that someone who knows that there is no problem takes a person who has sorrow seriously enough to talk to him or her about it. Starting out as Krishna did, saying that there is no reason for sorrow. Ashocyan and Vashochastun creates some elbow room in which to talk. Otherwise, the one who knows cannot talk at all. If Krishna had simply said, I am Ananda, you are Ananda, we are all Ananda, there would be nothing to talk about. To tell a person who says that he or she is sad, no, you are Ananda, leaves no room to talk, although the statement is true. To say that sorrow has no basis requires proof, and Krishna had 17 chapters in which to prove that what he said was a fact. He knew that to start by saying you are Ananda would give him no room to talk. Instead, Krishna talked as though there was a problem and he as though solved it also. Thus, the talking itself is an ascharya because what cannot be talked about is talked about. What cannot be verbally mentioned is mentioned. What cannot be captured by words is presented by words. This is indeed a wonder. The one who teaches is also a wonder, and the one who listens is also another wonder. Can you tell an ordinary practical person who asks you, what are you studying, that you are learning self knowledge? No. If you did, your sanity would undoubtedly be questioned. Therefore, this shloka also is not said here. It's also borrowed from Kathopadesha with little modification. Ascharyo Vakta Ascharyo Kushalaha iti in Kathopanishad, there is a mantra. Ascharyo Vakta Kushalasyo Kushalosya Labda. Ascharyo Jnata Kushalanashishtaha Na Varena Na Narena Varena Proktayeshaha Suvigyayo Bhaguda Chintyamanaha iti. The first line of the mantra. Ascharyo Vakta Kushalosya Labda. It is the so there is a lot of similarity between Kathopanishad and Gita. So Ascharyaha Vakta, Ascharyaha Labda. Vakta is teacher, Labda is receiver. That is what he said. Now further, the self is something that is impossible to talk about, and the one who comes to listen, the one in many millions, is a wonder. Such a person thinks that the knowledge of the self is very important, whereas everyone else thinks of it as nonsense. They think those who take 3 years to study self-knowledge are wasting their time. They will say that you are frittering away the prime of your life that could have had 2 children in the same amount of time. There are so many aspects to this wonder. The wonder with a capital letter. Any way you look at it, it's a wonder. The one who is able to see the Atma is a wonder. Or we can say that one among the many who sees Atma does so with wonder. Also, there is no wonder that even after listening to the teaching, there are those who do not understand. The second interpretation is offered by Shankaracharya in his commentary on this shloka. Then the next shloka, 30th shloka, let's read. Dehi nityamavadhyoyam
Dehi nithyamavadyoyam.
Dehe sarvasya bharata
Dehe sarvasya bharata.
Tasmat sarvani bhutani
Tasmat sarvani bhutani.
Natvam shochitumarhasi
Natvam shochitumarhasi.
Degaha Dehi. Deha body, Dehi, the indweller of the body. Degaha asya asti iti Dehi. Dehin, Dehi, Dehinau, Dehinaha. The one who has body, Atma is called Dehi or Shariri. Shariram or Deha is body, Anatma. Atma, Anatma. In the Anatma, Dehi, the Atma is Nityam, Avadhyaha. Ayam Atma, Nityaha, Avadhyaha, Asmin, Dehe, Sarvasya, in all the body of all, Sarvasya Dehe. Therefore, Shariram, Anatma, subject to destruction, whereas Dehi, Sarvasya Dehe, Yaha Dehi Vartate, Tasya Nashanam Nabhavati, Sambhavitum na Shaknoti. Therefore, Sarvani Bhutani, Tasmat Sarvani Bhutani. Therefore, with regard to all the beings, we don't need to worry. Tattam Shochitum Argasi. This Atma, the indweller, Dehi, of the bodies of all beings, Sarvasya Dehe, is ever indestructible, Avadhyam. Therefore, He Bharata, therefore, Tasmat, you ought not to grieve for all these people. From Shochitum, Sarvani Bhutani, Shochitum na Argasi. You don't need to worry with regard to all these beings. Here Krishna summed up his original statement that he made in verse 11, Ashochan and Vashochasna, that there is no cause for grief. Atma is Sat, and therefore Nityam, Nityaha, meaning that it is not subject to birth, death, change, and so on. In the live physical body of any being, there is a Dehi, an indweller of the body, Deha. And this Dehi called Jivatma. It's not subject to destruction. It is Avadhyaha. Vadhya means that which is subject to destruction, that which can be destroyed. Avadhyaha means that which is not subject to destruction. The Dehi is not subject to destruction at all. It is Nityam Avadhyaha. It is always indestructible, meaning that which, even when the body is destroyed, the Atma is not destroyed. This is a point that Krishna wanted to establish. The Dehi, the indweller of the body, is not destroyed, even when the body is destroyed. This being so, Krishna told Arjuna that with reference to all living beings, Sarvani Bhutani, you don't qualify to be sad. Om Shochitum na Arhasi. Krishna backed his statement with all possible arguments. For the body, Deha, which is Anitya, there is no way that it will not be destroyed. And for the Nitya Atma, there is no way of destroying it. Either way, therefore, there is no room for grief based on death, nor is there any room for grief on the basis of any other situation, as has already been pointed out, because any situation that causes you sorrow is not a permanent situation. Therefore, dukkha also comes and goes, as does sukha. Because there is no content to dukkham, we cannot even say that a particular object or situation causes it. It is one's thinking with reference to a particular object or situation that actually causes dukkha. That can be physically painful or uncomfortable situations, but these are different from sadness. Here we are dealing with sadness, not mere physical pain. We are dealing with shoka, sadness, dukkha. The nature of sadness. Sadness doesn't depend on what you have or you don't have. It's a particular way of thinking. Sorrow is something centered on oneself, and this topic is the subject matter of the Gita. Thus, there is this refrain: we should not grieve. Nattam shochitum arhasi. Having stated that there is no reason for sorrow, Krishna then takes up the same topic from other standpoints. In fact, he exhausted every possible standpoint. Introducing the next verse, Shankaracharya says, from the standpoint of the ultimate reality, Paramarthika Tattva Apekshaya, Paramartha Tattva Apekshaya, sorrow or delusion is not possible. Shokaha Mogaha Va Sambhavati, and it is also not possible from the standpoint of relative reality. Vyavaharika Drishtya Api Na Sambhavati. Arjuna may well have said to Krishna, I am worried about Bhishma and the others. And you are telling me that Atma doesn't die. Bhishma is my grandfather, a man whom I respect. Pujarhu Arisudana. Therefore, I cannot kill him. Just to think of it causes me sorrow. And all you say is that his Atma is eternal, etc. What are you doing to me? When I am sorrowful because someone is dead, you cannot come and tell me that no gem can kill the Atma. When in fact the gems kill the person. It just doesn't work. Here too, what are you saying is too much for me. Arjuna would not really have argued in this way because he himself had asked for self-knowledge. Until he asked Krishna to teach him, Krishna did not teach. Aprishtaha kasyachit bruyat. Only when it is asked, it has to be taught. So therefore, Krishna did not teach. He only encouraged him to fight. Only when Arjuna asked, Arjuna surrendered, accepted Krishna as his guru and himself as his disciple, did Krishna begin to teach him. Because Arjuna wanted Shreyas, he told Krishna that he was a Shishya and therefore Krishna taught. Even though this was not Arjuna's thinking here, Krishna nevertheless exhausted the topic. He did not allow any standpoint, even relative standpoints, to go unattended. In this way, from both the absolute and relative standpoints, we can understand Krishna's statement that there is no reason for sorrow. Further, Bhagavan continues, Krishna then continued. There are other standpoints. Swadharmamapi chavekshya
Swadharmamapi chavekshya
navikampitum
navikampitum
dharmyad yuddhachreyon
dharmyadi yutta treyonyat
kshatriyasya na vidyate.
kshatriyasya na vidyate.
So, having presented the reason from the Paramarthika standpoint that Atma is not subject to destruction, only Anatma. Now, therefore, no legitimate reason for sorrow. Now, Bhagavan Krishna presents other standpoints, Vyavaharika standpoints. That is, also from the standpoint of your duty, Swadharmam api cha avekshya, from the standpoint of your duty, you being a Kshatriya. So this is a Dharma Yuddha. From that standpoint also, Na vikampitum argasi. You should not waver. You should not deviate. You should not deviate because for a kshatriyasya na vidyate dharmyadi yuddha shreyaha anyat. There is nothing greater than a right, this dharma yuddha for a kshatriya, righteous war, than a righteous war for a kshatriya. Dharmyat yuddhat, dharma yuddha. Kshatriyasya, anyat, any other thing other than this dharma yuddha. Na vidyate, shayaha na vidyate. There is nothing great or good than this war. Therefore, shifting from the above absolute standpoint, that is Atma standpoint, now Krishna then takes up the relative standpoint of dharma. So first is Atma up to the previous shloka, Atma. Now from this shloka onwards, 31, dharma standpoint. From the standpoint of dharma, what is right, what is to be done. This was a natural outcome of Arjuna's earlier and numerous comments on dharma in the first chapter. He had said that societal confusion, Varna Sankara, would be the result of this war, and he would be the cause for this confusion. He had said, we have heard, O Krishna, that those men who have destroyed the family duty live in hell. Thus, Krishna looked at it from the standpoint of dharma as well as from other standpoints, including worldly gain, as we shall see. So, avekshya, seeing from the standpoint of dharma, seeing what is to be done by oneself. Again, Arjuna was being told here that he was not eligible to develop this trembling hesitation. Na vikampitum. Looking at the situation from the standpoint of his swadharma, his duty, vikalpitum na arhasi. We don't need to tremble. Sidanti mama gatrani mukam cha parishishyati. There is no reason for that, he says. The one says, first of all, Arjuna was a soldier. You are a soldier, Kshatriya. Secondly, he was a crown prince, which meant that along with his brothers, he was supposed to protect dharma. He was not just a recruited soldier with only certain prescribed duties to do. He was a royal person belonging to the royal family and also one of the crown princes. Arjuna's duty was to uphold law and order, yet administer and protect the kingdom. That was his job, his dharma. When the Pandavas came back to claim their country after the 13 years of exile, Duryodhana refused to give their kingdom back. All their efforts at a compromise failed. He refused to give them even a needle point of land, let alone their country. Therefore, Duryodhana was the usurper. Every day that Duryodhana occupied the throne, he did so illegally, and that was his adharma. Krishna told Arjuna that being a Kshatriya, he could not just sit and allow adharma to continue. Therefore, from the standpoint of his own dharma, Arjuna ought not to waver or hesitate about what he had to do. Swadharmam chapi avekshya vikalpitum na argasitvam iti. The duty of Arjuna's duty. A soldier is especially trained in warfare and must practice continually during peacetime to keep the powder dry and to keep his wits sharp. If he has to retire before a war actually occurs, his skills go unused, although it was his and others' good fortune that there was no war. Not to fight also is proper if there is no cause to fight. But as Krishna said, if that same soldier gets a chance to use his training legitimate, there is no greater opportunity than that to show his skills. Generally, when such chances come, there is always some legitimacy about them. To shoot someone merely because he or she spoke out of turn is definitely illegitimate. But here for Arjuna, there was a legitimate chance. Dharmat anapetam dharmyam, that which was not against dharma. The battle Yuddha was based purely on dharma, and the one who brought Arjuna to it deserved to be punished. This then was a dharma yuddha, an expression that is often misused. Here, the dharma yuddha was, first of all, to establish dharma. Also, the person who had flagrantly violated dharma by usurping the kingdom deserved to be punished. Thus, Krishna as much as said to Arjuna, the battle is right in front of you, Arjuna. You now have a chance to demonstrate your weapons and skill, and it is your duty to do so. Arjuna's weapons had gone unused for a long time. They had been stockpiled and maintained so that they would not become rusty. Most of his missiles were in the form of mantras, and Arjuna had to repeat these mantras daily because they were the power behind his weapons. This was how the weapons were kept alive, and was how Arjuna kept the powder dry. Arjuna had done what was required, and now a time had come when all of his acquired skill was to be used for the purpose for which it was learned and stockpiled. He did not learn all this to destroy people or to demonstrate his prowess, but to protect Dharma. And now was his chance to do so. Thus, from the standpoint of his own Dharma as to what had to be done, there was no room whatsoever for lamentation or hesitancy. This was one argument that Krishna put to him. Another argument Krishna put forward was that for a Kshatriya, especially one of Arjuna's stature, there was nothing more appropriate for him to do. What is to be done by you, Arjuna, is to be done by you. And this Yuddha is something that is to be done by you, said Krishna. Then the next shloka, that 32, we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद.